Now, it's been quite a long time, to be frank, and I think it's been like 9 months or something since I last uploaded a tutorial to my channel, and that was the admin panel part 2. And in that video, I promised a part 3, but I didn't follow through, so I aim to fix that on this one. With this one, I'm going to be completely redoing my code, we'll put it that way. And because my other admin panel's code, it was inefficient, it had very big potential for memory leakage, which is just basically lagging the game. So yeah, there's our little issue there. So in this one, we're going to be rewriting the code. We're going to be making it look a lot better than the last UI. And we're also going to have a little bit better of the functionality side of things. I will try to make this as easy to understand as possible, but do be aware that this is an advanced scripting tutorial, and if you are a beginner, you are totally free to take your shot at this, but it is completely on you if you mess up the code and you can't find out how it works. However, my Discord will be linked in the description where if you're having issues with a certain script, you can go ahead and ask any of the people there or me for help. Anyway, with that being said, let's get to this. So, the first thing we're going to want to do is design our GUI. And one complaint I got last time is I really didn't show the GUI design enough. So, yeah, that's fair. I really didn't. So, for GUIs, make my freaking properties window smaller. Anyway, for these GUIs, what we're going to want to do is you want to have a frame. And we don't even need that Roundify plugin anymore because I found out about one of Roblox's things. But you can position this GUI wherever you want on the screen. And yeah, so let's just do it like that, and we will start designing our UI from here. Alright, so the first thing when we're designing is that we want is to make our GUI as fluid looking as possible. So to do that, we want to have it like maybe this size, middle of the screen, and I'm going to make mine dark theme since, I don't like light theme very much at all. But yeah, so that'll work for me right there. So the next thing we want to do, just rename this to like main. And this is now your GUI frame. And now we want to put it something called a UI corner in here. And you can see the GUI now has rounded corners, but what we were going to want to do is change this to 0.10 or like maybe 0.050. Make it look a little bit neater. And it will look like this on every device. It won't just like flatten corners on big computers and way over round them on small ones. Anyway, now that we've got that done, we can put a text label up here. This one's unimportant. I'm going to transparency this to 0.8 so that it gets this effect. Border size pixel 0. And copy this UI corner into it. And change this to 0.2. Bam. Now that we have this UI corner and moderation GUI, let's decorate the text a little bit. And here we go. So let's make this font like Gotham bold, I guess. Text scale. Let's turn on this rich text thing. Personally, it's because I like to do underlines, and that's kind of how you do that. Moderation GUI. And then we can also turn the text color to white. Give text stroke transparency of 0.7 so that there's a slight black outline around the letters. And we're good to go. So now we get into the functionality bit of this. So for this, we're going to want to put an image label in here. And the reason for that is we're going to get the avatar of the person we are banning. I'm going to make mine 133 by 133. And I have this plugin that I'll link in the description that allows you to auto scale this so that This will look the same on all devices. I'm going to do this to everything so far. And now you can see that the size looks a little bit more on the other side of the comma. And that will just keep it the same size again on all computers. So now that everything is scaled and we have our image label, let's set a placeholder image of a person. So I'm going to go to Toolbox personally. I'm going to go to Images, find Person, and this will work. I like this one. Anyway, what we're going to want to do is just paste that there, and we'll make our background transparency 0.8 as well. And bam. I don't think UI corners can go in image labels. Let's check. Oh, they can. Okay, perfect. That's even better. So, now we've got that. We're going to want to copy this text label up here, bring it down, and this text label is actually important. So, let's make this smaller, just by a little bit. And we don't need the moderation GUI. It said we want use. We want to have it say username and slash u to underline right there. Username. Now, this will come in later. Actually, I don't like that underline. I'm going to change that. Bam. By the way, if you don't want to learn how to UI design right now, there's a timestamp in the description. I believe I also put one in while I was editing in the start of the video when we got to this section. So now that we have our basic UI done, I'm going to rename one of these text labels, specifically that one, to username. And that has to be named that, or else it may not work well. And for this, we also want to have a text box. And I want to move this to like right here. Make it pretty big. And I'm going to put a UI corner in this one too. Just a point two. And that we've got that, we're going to change some of the properties of this text box. So again, going to make this 0.8 transparency. We're going to change placeholder text color to white. Actually, I liked the gray. So we're going to put username as the placeholder text. We're going to want text scaled. And we're also going to want to change this font to whatever you want to. I'm personally going to use Sarpanich for this one. And then with that, you want to title this input name. And the next thing we're going to want to do is copy it, bring it like right here, and we're going to want to put duration. This is only for bands, so bands only. And for this, we're just going to put duration as its name. And lastly, we're going to need two text buttons. Actually, we're going to have three text buttons here. So I want to have, personally, maybe even, yeah, let's make this as functional as possible. Make it a very fully fledged moderation GUI. I'm going to take this UI corner and put it in this text button. We're going to call these buttons, this will be ban, and we're going to start designing this one. So I'm going to color this one red because ban is a pretty severe moderation action. I'm going to scale the text, going to put Gotham Black as this one, like that. so it looks okay. And we're going to change the text color to white. And for this one, I'm going to make the text say ban. So for the next one, for the next set of these, I'm actually going to make this button a little smaller because to scale, it doesn't look quite right. Now let's duplicate this, bring it over here. How far away is this one from its thing? 9? Okay, well then let's put it at like 10 here. Okay, so this one over here, you can call this one tick. Change the text to tick. And personally, I like to keep these two red, but you can color these whatever you want. It won't matter. You can put whatever text you want here. It won't matter only if you want to change the functionality will it matter. Because then you also have to just change the name over here. I'm going to call this one Warn, and I'm going to color this one lighter gray. And we'll just change the text to say Warn, and this one over here will say, actually this one should be Warn. This one over here personally should be mute in my UI design, but then again, you can make the buttons positioned anywhere you want. It will not matter as long as their names are according to their functionality. So up till now, I haven't been really scaling stuff, so let's just make sure in one big go that everything is scale. Now that we're sure, I'm going to rename our main screen GUI to admin GUI, and we're actually going to put this in server storage. And there is a reason for that. So, now that we've got our UI design, we can finally get into some of the programming. Now, we're going to actually bring this back out because we're going to be testing this. So, we're going to want to create several remote events. And we're going to put these in a folder called admin events because for organization purposes. Admin events. Let's put this guy in here, like 4 of them. And we're going to want ban. We're going to want kick. We're going to want mute. And we're going to want warn. Now that we've got all of that, we can get into the client-side code. Now, I'm going to be putting the local script right on in here. Now, let's make some variables. So I'm going to make my code as organized as possible. And let's do the services we're going to need. So we're going to need several services for this. We're going to want replicated storage, so let's define that. And set this to game, get service, storage. And this is just for code efficiency and not trying to use game.replicated storage. That just looks messy. We're going to need to run service. We're going to need yeah, we will need the what is it? We'll need okay, actually, yeah, no. That is all the services we need for this so far. If we have to put more, we will put more. But those are the ones I think of off the top of my head for this. So the next thing is static variables like players. That is one other service we needed. That was the one I was thinking of. Local players. Game get service players. Alright, now that we have this, let's go ahead and define a few variables. So we want our player to be defined as player, and we're going to put players.localPlayer here. Now, I'm gonna put a subcategory here that says UI and ignore my terrible spelling. I have minor dyslexia. Okay, so the next thing we're going to put in here is our UI instances. So we want local main is equal to script.parent.parent wait for child. And what this is just going to do is wait for it. Actually, you know what? That's kind of pointless because the script is going to load as the admin UI itself loads. So don't do that part. The next thing we're going to want is all of the main frame because we're going to need this for tweening it later. So full main frame is equal to script. The next thing we're going to want is the button. So actually, let's get the inputs first. So input is equal to main frame colon wait child input name. We're going to want duration is equal to mainframe colon wait for child duration. Now we want the text button that we made earlier. So local ban is equal to mainframe colon wait for child. Whoops, I didn't mean to put a new line there. Ban local kick is equal to mainframe colon wait for child kick. Local mute is equal to mainframe colon wait for child mute. Local warn, so mainframe colon wait for child warn. By the way, if you want advanced autocomplete for this, which I heavily recommend, go ahead and go to beta features, turn on this, and then also turn on right here. Because this is some really good syntax stuff that we're going to be using later. Now, for the next things we want our remote events, and we're actually going to set another static variable up here called local events folder is equal to replicated storage and wait for child admin events. And now we just define our events, so local ban event is equal to events folder colon wait for child ban local mute or kick event equal to events folder colon wait for child kick local mute event is equal to events folder colon wait for child mute and local warn event to events folder colon wait for child warn. So now that we've got all of that, I'm going to create what I do as a separator of variables and functions because again I'm trying to keep my code as organized as I can. We'll just call this functions and bring all these up here. Alright, you don't even have to do this, I just like to keep my code organized, and I think I'm going to leave this code in a GitHub repository for everyone to access. But if you want to learn and you want to just copy my code, then go ahead and just take these uh, to keep watching, basically, is what I'm going to say. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I'm going to get a sip of water and we'll continue. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is we want to create a function called moderation action trigger. So for this, we're going to want to do function moderation action trigger. And to finish this function, we're just going to do that. But to start off with, we need some stuff. And this is where the advanced syntaxing for autocomplete comes in. And again, to enable that, file, beta features, and then check this, and you're good. So we're gonna want to have moderation trigger be with these arguments. We're gonna want to have the input name, and then we're gonna want to put a colon and string. We want to have the duration and set that to a string. And we're going to want to have the action type. Also a string. And you'll see why we do all of this funny cluttered looking shit up here later. But yeah, so next thing up is we want to get going on actually making this stuff. So if moderation action trigger, nope, I meant to put action type. If action type is equal to this, we're just going to define all of them. Kick, else if action type equal to mute, and else if action type is equal to warn. Then, alright, so what we're actually going to want to do is go to replicate it up here and create a folder called modules. And I would recommend putting any of your game modules into a folder like this because it's just way more organized. Can be in here or here, but for this one, you absolutely need it here because both the server side and the client side are going to access this module. So, add a module script to here, and we're going to call this functions table, or the admin service, I guess. And no, we're not actually going to make a service, but we're going to make a table of functions for this. So above local admin service, I'm going to put, again, a few variables that are services. So what we want to do here is we will need all of the services from right here. You can just copy and paste those right there. You will need the events folder. Actually, all the variables that we defined over in this part except for the UI things, everything from here, where is it? Take everything from here, cut it, and you can just delete this because I realized doing this in a module is much more organized. So you can just paste that here, paste that here, and above that, we're going to want to get our events folder from right here. You can hit Control X to cut it, Control V to paste it. So now that you've got that, you can, as long as you have that and all of your service variables defined, you can just put a dividing line here, and we'll get to writing the actual functions. So now that we've got this and all of our fun events derived, what we want to do is function admin service, so referencing this table right here, and then colon ban client. Actually, we can just call ban, yeah, no, we're going to do it the way I wanted to do it, like that. And we're going to pass in only the duration and input name and, okay, so we want target as a string, we want duration as a string, and we actually want to have I forgot to do this in the actual design, but what we're going to want to do is take this and make them slightly smaller. And I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to duplicate it. And we're going to want to put this one down here. Set placeholder text to reason. Rename this one a reason. And now we're good. Make sure that looks okay. I'm going to actually move duration just slightly upwards. Like right there. Alright. Now that we've got this, let's go in here, redefine another one. Local reasons equal to mainframe, wait for child. Reason. Alright, there we go. So, now that those are defined, we want to put a function argument called reason as a string here. Once you have this done, then you can put in this right here. We want to just, I want to make this organized as possible, which is why we're doing the client functions over here. But what we're going to want to do is do an event colon fire server, and we're going to want to call the target, duration, and the reason right here. Now, let's go back over to the local script, and in service, we're going to put local admin service is equal to replicated storage colon wait for child modules. Actually, we need a require here first. And then we also want to put colon wait for child module. We're going to call this admin service up here because I forgot to rename the module. Let's rename this admin service. I completely butchered that spelling. There we go. Now that you've got that, you can just call over here admin service colon van client, input name, duration, reason. But we're actually going to do a little bit more than that. We want to say if reason, we didn't actually give it a reason argument right here. Reason needs to be a string too. So if duration is equal to nil, then now that you've got that, you want to say if reason is equal to this just empty string, then okay. So once you do this, duration will be in days, by the way, and we actually don't want this to be a string. We want this to be a number. So if duration is equal to nil and the reason is not that, but up here we're just gonna put, we needed this 2 lines of code because if reason was nil, it would just say you've been kicked from the game over and over. And so what we want to do here is we want to take this and let me make sure my recording's not going on too long. We'll take this and we will put admin service colon ban client, and then for this, if reasons is nil, we want to input our own custom reason that just says you have been permanently banned. And this is just if duration is nil and reason is nil. And we can put else and our other line here. And we're going to want another else statement here. that says, and then duration would be, if, I'll just set duration to 0 and the ones where duration is here. We want to set a 0. Just straight off the bat set duration to 0 if it's nil. And yeah, so you can just change this back to duration. I realized I could just set it. And yeah, so now you've got your client-sided band code. So once you have this, then what we can do is you only will need a few things for this. So if reason is just an empty string, then, and then what we can just do here is paste this, but put kick client, because this is a function we haven't written yet. Change that to a lowercase I. We don't even need duration here. You can just do input name, and you have been kicked from the server. Now that you've got that, you want to define an else, and then put this here, and do this, make it kick client, and we'll define this function in a moment. We're only going to do these two for this video, these two specific ones. And the reason is because this video is already 30 minutes long. So, for this over here, let's just copy this function here. But we're only going to need a few arguments. We can just completely remove the duration argument. We can then eliminate this, and we can do just kick event fire server. Now, the way we're going to set admins will be said tomorrow, so don't worry, not everybody can just fire this remote event and kick and ban people. We'll make sure that that doesn't happen. But now that you've got your client-sided code done, and for the most part done, and we've got our module, GUI, and all of that, I will leave this GUI as an RBXM file in my description as a Google Drive link or a file dropper link. But until next time, I shall see you guys later. Peace.